Good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome to our continuing series of government spotlight events. This morning, focusing on Intel and its impact to our community. I'm Don DePiro, your president and CEO of the Columbus Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank all of you very, very much for joining us this morning. We had over 200 registrants, so we're really, really excited about all of that. Thank you so very much to Spectrum, our underwriter for this important series of events. And with that, I'd like to bring to you Tamara Howard, the Manager of Government Affairs for Charter Communications. Tamara.
Thank you, Don. Good morning, everyone. As Don said, I'm Tamara Howard, Manager of Government Affairs for Charter Communications. As a longtime partner and supporter of the Columbus Chamber, I am thrilled to be here to kick off this morning's program, Intel's influence on the region's small business community. Our panelists will discuss the coming of Intel to Central Ohio and how it will benefit small businesses through increased traffic and sales, more patrons for our restaurants and bars, and those who are able to be part of the Intel supply chain. Our featured subject matter experts will share their insights and perspectives on ways we can take proactive measures to prepare for Intel's impact on our business community. Charter Communications is a leading connectivity company and cable operator providing superior broadband, voice, video, and mobile services under the brand name Spectrum. We employ more than 7,200 employees and provide service to more than 1,700 communities right here in Ohio. We understand the importance of technology and how the services we offer help to move the needle forward, not only in Ohio, but our entire 41-state footprint. Whether it's searching and applying for employment, connecting with community organizers, or staying healthy through telemed programs, Spectrum works to ensure communities are connected to the services needed to thrive. And now I have the pleasure of handing this off to Des Bryant, VP of Government Affairs. Des?
Thank you, Tamara, and thank you to everyone for joining us this morning. Across the world, we're seeing an extraordinary demand for high-tech products that are powered by semiconductors. Intel is uniquely positioned to meet that demand, and a big part of its strategy will be centered right here in Central Ohio. Ohio was chosen because of our world-class university research enterprise, robust innovations ecosystem, and high-skilled and growing workforce. Not only does Intel's announcement add to Ohio's thriving tech scene, it sends a signal around the world that our state is the place to be for advanced manufacturing and emerging technologies. Shout out to Honda Motor and LG Energy Solutions on announcing their $4.4 billion EV battery manufacturing plant right here in Central Ohio. But we're in all this together. And together, we're going to help build new partnerships and uplift our business communities. Intel's partnerships in academia will help spark the technology and research that will create the new industries, the good jobs required for folks to elevate to the middle class. To kick off the program, I would like to introduce our moderator, Ted Gear, Program Manager at One of Columbus. Thank you, Ted, and thank you to our panelists for joining us today. Ted, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Des. Good morning, everybody. I see a lot of friends in the room or in the Zoom here, and it's wonderful to see. This is a really great project in that it's taken a lot of people doing a lot of great work over a very long period of time, and a lot of those folks are here today. So thanks to all the partners that are called in today, and thanks to everyone else for showing up and bringing your interest in the project and its implications. So yeah, there's a lot to get into with this one. It's a major project. It has a lot of meaning for our region, for our state, for our country, for the world, and we can pull on a lot of different threads. Today, we're going to be thinking really locally and thinking about our communities and how we can use this as an opportunity to, to build up and uplift small businesses and a broader kind of economic, the broader economic growth we want to see on the back of a project like this. I'll start off the top with introducing our panelists, and I'll actually just go ahead and ask you all to introduce yourselves if that's all right with you, Megan. We can start with you. Megan is Economic Development Officer at the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ted. So excited to be here. Thanks for the opportunity. Happy to be talking with everyone today. As Ted mentioned, I'm the Economic Development Officer at MORPC. I've been with the agency now about 6 months, but prior to this, focused on in the nonprofit sector on transportation, alternative fuel transportation. So really excited to be still serving, Central Ohio and this region and the state of Ohio. So thanks again.
Thanks, Megan. And Jim Shimmer is Franklin County Development Director.
Well, thanks, Ted. Appreciate it. Nice seeing everybody here this morning to have a conversation, of which this will be many. There'll be many conversations going forward, but it should be. It should be the case, because I think we have been looking for this moment for a long period of time. And as we talked this morning, I want to focus in a little bit on that part of it so that everybody has an understanding of how these things actually come to be, and the effort that people have put into time. But on behalf of the Franklin County Board of Commissioners, I'm really pleased to be here this morning. Thank you.
Thanks. And yeah, this is certainly a case where opportunity met a lot of preparation over a long period of time. So, we'll get into all that. I'll just start off the top with a few minutes talking about the project, just to table set and guide some of the discussion later today. So just off the top, just starting as high level as I can, Intel, which is the only major U.S. manufacturer of semiconductors or computer chips, chose the Columbus region, chose Ohio for its newest fabrication facility. This is a really important step in making computer chips. It's only one of many major steps, but it is a really, really crucial one. It's the one where you start with these metal discs of silicon, and you build up all the little transistors, all the little bits of electronics onto it through a bunch of chemical processes and other stuff. And you end up with a small square chip that can do computation and go into computers or any number of other applications. These semiconductors really power much of our modern economy and nearly our entire innovative capacity as a species. And it's really, really cool stuff. This is some of the most complex, these are some of the most complex products that we've ever made. And the machinery that goes into it, the supply chain that goes into it certainly is commensurate with that. And it's a really, really exciting sector to be bringing here. This is one that we had been looking at for a long time, but never really felt like we had a good shot at it because we had no existing semiconductor industry here in the Midwest. We have had a great collision of circumstances that has made this project work here. The semiconductor industry has experienced a lot of growth, pretty steady growth for a long time. It has had some cyclicality. Back in the 80s, there was a pretty pronounced oversupply of semiconductors. Few folks really see that coming down the line, although computer demand is slowing with some of the global inflation pressures and other economic headwinds that we see right now. All of those other uses for semiconductors are still just as needed as ever. And furthermore, this is a product that really amplifies more than almost any other the need to onshore production and onshore manufacturing back to the United States after decades of offshoring and divestment. These are products, these semiconductors that go into critical supply chains across the board, defense applications, communications applications, EVs, which have 5 times the number of chips in them than internal combustion engines. So, when you look at that Honda battery announcement and also the retooling of their of their assembly lines in Marysville, know that chips power all of that. So yeah, kind of a little bit of table setting there. How we've handled it regionally. We've had really, really tremendous partnerships all the way through. We actually, I'll do a little bit of a humble brag and tell you that Intel's head of global supply chain told us that Ohio and Team Ohio is the best he'd seen in 30 years at implementing a project on the ground, and that's global. So really, really special stuff. It's an opportunity we haven't taken lightly, and it's really led to some great partnerships. I also want to highlight Lincoln County's efforts around this, around the project. It's something that a lot of the local stakeholders found out sort of right at the end. It's the nature of economic development work that oftentimes these project announcements don't go public, don't go really wide until it's all done and we're ready to go. And that's what happened here, obviously on a really big scale. Lincoln County stakeholders stepped right up, and I see a lot of, again, friends in the room from Lincoln County in the participant list. The business community out there, the chamber, the Port Authority, and the Economic Development Organization all came together and created a Welcome Intel task force. That sort of created an environment for 6 months over the course of this year, really from February to August, that just created that soft landing for the company, made it really clear that the business community was there to support Intel, also there to ensure that their existing businesses were not negatively impacted by the investment. So all that to say, great partnerships. It's a great project. This is something that a lot of folks in Ohio and across the Midwest have been working on something just like this for 50 years. And it really does. It's hard to understate its significance as a turning point for our state's economic story. So with all that said, let's get into it. This is going to be the biggest chip plant in the world over time. And I say over time, and I mean that. This is 3,000 jobs that are coming online in about 3 years from now. And if you look at the Columbus MSA, the employment's about 1.1 million. So you're looking at 3,000 jobs on 1.1 million. It's a very significant project. The optics matter, the onshoring matters. What this means for our story matters, but it's something that we do feel pretty prepared to handle, and something we're really excited to bring to our regional economy. So with that, let's get into it. I am a Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission alum myself, MORPC alum myself. Infrastructure development is a really, really key part of what got us here and where we need to take it to support this project and our existing businesses. So maybe we can start with Megan and then Jim. What are your priorities for infrastructure development within your jurisdiction, and how do you see it tying into a mega project like this, or just the ongoing community and economic development for small businesses?
Yeah, thanks, Ted. That's a great question. So MORPC being, the regional planning agency for Central Ohio, we really see this as a region-wide approach. So to kind of plan around, infrastructure, we use something called the Competitive Advantage Program. And with that program, we work with each of the counties in the region to identify 5 to 6 priority projects in their county. And once we do that, we create these like one-pagers that our leadership at MORPC then takes to DC to help, support our requests for funding around these top priority areas in infrastructure. Trends I think that we're seeing are all growth focused with our counties in the region. Transportation, specifically like adding new roads, interchanges to help support this growth that the region is seeing. We're seeing sewer expansion projects, float to the top of the list for a lot of counties to support that growth, and then natural gas capacity expansion as well. And what we're just seeing, the trends around this infrastructure development is really just that growth that we're seeing throughout the region. So counties are preparing for it. Our partners are preparing for it. We know that growth is coming, so we're doing what we can to support them through that competitive advantage project. And those profiles that we create, they actually live on the MORPC website. So folks can go there and they can see what those priority areas are. We update those every 2 years, so they never go stale. As projects get funded, those projects get replaced with new project ideas. So that's kind of what we're doing region-wide around infrastructure development.
Thanks, Megan. Jim?
Well, it's an amazing time. There's no doubt about it. But what I wanted to mention is that, it's the background of the story sometimes that people don't really understand. And, there's just this mantra in the economic development community of prepared communities win. And, this concept is one that has been around for 20 plus years and can probably go back further than that. But it wasn't all that long ago that we did not act as a region. And, we were in the economic development field. You were looking out for your own for the most part and trying to take care of your community. I'm not saying that's changed. We're a competitive environment. We want business to be located in our communities. But the reality of it is that in this day and age, you really need to be able to make the case that you are prepared. And so, as Megan's just talked about, everybody thinks about the physical infrastructure and the things that are going to be needed to make this project happen from a very, traditional infrastructure sense. What I want to mention is just that there is another, definition of infrastructure, and that is the idea that there needs to be, and there are in place currently, prepared communities win. Again, we've been thinking about this for a number of years, and we've been able to start to really look at how small business can utilize an infrastructure that is already in place and is established. This is a great thing. We're not making this up now because, oh my gosh, Intel's here, and we have Honda and LG, and oh, we got to get this stuff together. The truth is, it's in place. And so what I want to just say for a quick second is that resources, first of all, with the chamber, the Columbus Chamber of Commerce, and the work that Des does and all of the staff at the chamber does for small business is really critically important. They've been there for a long time, and they've helped on a large number of small businesses in Central Ohio. But we want to do better. And when I think of this particular project, it's our opportunity to do better. I think Des mentioned this is a period in time where we're really, fortunate to have all of these things happen. But the reality of it is you got to do better to move the community forward. So one area I'll mention is in the diversity and equity inclusion area. A number of nonprofits have already, they've been in existence now for 10 or 15 years and have become stronger, but now there's the challenge to them. And that challenge is, how do we make this project available to everybody in the community, whether let's say in the region? How do we look at suppliers, and how do we look at small business development, and how do we make sure that there is an equitable component to the ability to work and actually, I think in this case, the key word is wealth creation. How do we spread that out across that region? And there are a number of different ways to do that, a number of different organizations to help you. I think of the chamber right away, but Columbus Urban League, new organizations like Freedom Equity, which is a new community development finance institution organization that will help finance small business for Brown and Latino and Black and minority organizations that have been trying to get a start and haven't had a financing resource. That term bankable. Some folks, when they're starting out, you're just not bankable, but we've put some of that human infrastructure in place and small business infrastructure in place. And, I think that's been one of the things that, we want to talk about. I'll keep my comments short on this one, and we can talk about some of the other areas in DE&I, but I just want to focus in on the fact that I think we're really well prepared on, again, that small business human infrastructure, so that we can grow businesses locally to participate in the good fortune that we currently have.
Thanks, Jim. And I am going to share a slide. I said I wasn't going to share slides, so I hope this is okay. But I did want to share one really quick. So this is kind of the moment we're in right now. If you look at these, you see all the B's beside these numbers. I mean, we caught a really big one, and really one of the best projects on this page with the Intel fabs. But we're in a moment of major investment, industrial capital investment. And, you can see sort of the battery belt is what it's being termed as, kind of Michigan on down through Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Those are all major EV battery and EV production investments. And, when you step back and look at EVs and batteries and semiconductors, they all kind of start blurring together. If you step back far enough, they have similar supply chains, they drive similar innovation, and they all need each other. So this is really special. And I also put this up to say, it's not just us, but that means that we have to compete just like we always have. If we want our project to go better than all these other places and, hit all those imperatives that Jim just laid out, we have to think as a region, we have to come together, we have to lean into our partnerships. So that's sort of the goal right now, is really demonstrate that the strength of our region, the strength of our state, to drive diversity, inclusion, and broad-based prosperity using this project as an impetus. All righty, so we'll go on to the next question. I might drop in more slides later, but we'll go on to And Jim kind of just got at this, but Megan, I'd be interested in your question as well. And Jim, if you wanted to readdress it, what resources does your organization have available to small business owners, or what partners do you work with who might be folks that our small business owners could look to?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ted. As a regional planning commission, we have resources around focused on opportunities for public involvement. So we host a number of meetings throughout the year. The two that I'm thinking off the top of my head would be the Community Advisory Committee and the Transportation Advisory Committee. So those are meetings that are open to the public and really kind of bringing the community together through that. I would say also engagement through events at MORPC as well. We're getting ready to host a big event, one of our bigger events tomorrow, actually, the Summit on Sustainability. That is happening tomorrow in downtown Columbus. But we host events throughout the whole year. We host the State of the Region, the Candidates Forum. So we do a lot of engagement through events. So small business owners, everyone can come and be a part of those, to really feel involved. And then also part of our work around supporting our members is providing support through kind of doing the reconnaissance work for our members. So when I say that, we're getting ready to release now RFPs and RFQs around supporting our members for the opportunities that are going to be around Intel. And also there's the state's getting ready to release a big grant for the Appalachian region of Ohio. So we want to be able to provide to our members support around, identifying businesses and companies that are going to be a great resource for them as they prepare for the growth in the region. So again, those RFPs are in development, but when we release those, they will be released, on all of our social media, on our website, will be sent out in our newsletter. So if y'all are interested in that, I can provide information on that to the chamber once those RFPs and RFQs are released.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. And I'll just underscore, from a regional planning perspective, you really feel it when you spend time at MORPC. You really feel that, what happens in Delaware matters for Columbus. What happens in Washington Courthouse, as we saw with the LG announcement yesterday, matters for Columbus. And those regional thinkers and planners are some of the folks that are actually, it's easy to think that's the macro picture, but it's really one that bears heavily on the micro picture as well on small business. So really encourage y'all to check out MORPC. It's some of the best public servants you'll ever see over there. And they do great work. They think about this stuff all day. So I would definitely encourage using those resources.
Thanks, Ted. Well said.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate the fact that somebody else like Des to everyone is also on the chat and putting in things like a link to Freedom Equity and links to becoming an Intel supplier. I do appreciate that. I think it's a great way to get that information out. So I'm going to add maybe a couple more in here that I think you can, folks on the call can immediately start with to be thinking about small business opportunities. Certainly, Economic Community Development Institute, ECDI, is one of those organizations that's out there. And there's been a number of different programs within Franklin County. The one that I want to focus in on just for a second is the Commissioner's DE&I Office of DE&I, actually, Department of the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. There is a woman there by the name of Demika Withers, and hopefully you've met her. She is the point person for the commissioner's effort in this area. The key thing about this and why I want to mention it is, yeah, we're talking about Intel and we're talking about how do you become a supplier to Intel. And I want to encourage everybody on the call that is a small business to also think a little bit alternatively. And Franklin County is a large organization. We have almost 3,500 employees. We're a big operation. We have a lot of needs for services and goods. We haven't spent time trying to figure out in the past what's the best way to make sure that we have the ability to go ahead and get people involved who may not have ever been asked to get involved in the past. And so as part of that process, one of the things that we have been doing is getting vendors into Franklin County's system. So if you're a small business and you have an interest in trying to work with Franklin County, there's an opportunity through D'Amica's office to be able to get on the list of vendors, become a registered vendor. And my point in that all is that, yeah, we're talking about, this huge organization of Intel, and there's a fantastic opportunity there. But I also want you to think about, as a small business, turn over some of those rocks that are right there available to you right now. Government is definitely one of those areas. And so, the idea that you can look across the board, you can think about the city of Columbus, you can think about the state of Ohio, you can think about Franklin County and our adjacent counties, all looking at this concept of we need to have a different lens on for our small business folks. And we need to engage them in getting involved in our business, the work that we have, the goods and services that we need to have supplied. So, that's a good place to start, at least for Franklin County. I will defer to the chamber to get that. I'm sure there's a larger list of folks out there, but we work closely with the Columbus Urban League on a number of different projects. They have stepped up in recent years to become more of a focus on training opportunities. Impact Community, another organization, is doing a really good job. And then down on a list that I think all of you could be involved with if you so choose to do that work. I think about Color Coded, which is an organization that started through Rev1, which is going to be providing training for coding and the technology skills that are going to be needed as we kind of move forward. So that's just some quick resources, but I'm challenging all of you to, again, turn those rocks over and think differently than just the Intel supplier base, because locally, I think we have the opportunity to do, some really good work, but you also have to be innovative and thinking about it. I'll just represent the government piece, saying to you that we are structured now to be able to work with small businesses in the DE&I area. And that is a commitment from the Franklin County Commissioners to all of the residents here.
Thanks, Jim. And Don, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I thought I'd ask you this question as well. I know y'all think a lot about resourcing small biz, and as you're approaching Intel, what are some of the resources you'd like to highlight?
Thanks, Ted. Appreciate that. We have had 3 meetings with Intel. In fact, Jim Evers, who will lead that entire facility, sat with me at our table at the Clam Bake, our 98th annual Clam Bake 2 weeks ago. We have numerous resources, and we will be holding more meetings, if you will. I like to call them workshops, where we can make introductions, hopefully with Intel. Des Bryant is facilitating some of these. We found out that a key local government leader had not met anyone from Intel. We just found that out earlier this week, and we're making that introduction. We also want to be respectful to Intel and to Jim Evers. He's very, very, very busy. So we want to be deliberate in this process. We want to create some formal processes for these, but please watch our website, watch all of our social platforms, and we have an opted-in email list with over 18,000 leaders throughout our community. If you haven't signed up for our emails, please do so, and just go to columbus.org/events. But we will be supporting them in our diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. I put in the chat, Sharice Thomas, who has now been with us more than a year as our Vice President of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Access. And she joined us from Columbia Gas's parent company, which is great. We'll be doing numerous things with them. If you're a member of the chamber, you have a member resource specialist. We have 5 full-time account managers. Stay in contact with your member resource specialist, your account manager here at the chamber, and they'll help inform you of upcoming opportunities for you to make connections. Des put in the chat box how to the hot link for Intel on how to become a supplier for Intel. Take advantage of that. Apply today. Make the application if you're interested in doing business with them. They watch that closely. They pay attention to that. They've been very deliberate in their process coming here. In fact, they flew an executive in from Portland, Oregon, who happens to serve on the Portland Regional Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. So they have an interest in really being deeply involved in the community. They joined our chamber almost immediately upon coming to town, and all of our connections with them have been absolutely wonderful. They will be deeply, deeply engaged. As you see, they will be endowing shares at Ohio State and other universities. They want to grow their employee base locally. Of course, they'll be bringing in associates from all of their facilities, not only within the United States, but all over the world. But they want a local employment base, and they're committed to that. And that's really very, very good news, especially for all of you who are in education, training, workforce, talent development. It's really, really good news. So stay in touch with us, get to know your member resource specialist, and there'll be more of this moving forward. Thanks, Ted.
Sure thing. Thanks, Don. So we'll kind of pivot a little bit at this point to a topic that I know Jim and Megan care a lot about, which is sustainability. That's really the heart of the future of manufacturing. When we think about a facility that uses a lot of water, a lot of electricity, like this Intel plant does, trying to set ourselves apart, trying to set up our region and our state for the future, handling our natural resource planning, handling, energy generation, all those different pieces that kind of come into making a project more sustainable matter. And we're bringing it forward on this project. But I kind of wanted to ask both of you, maybe we can start with Jim on this one. Obviously sustainability is a key priority for you. And how does that strategic focus on sustainability help you in your work doing economic development and supporting small businesses into the future?
Well, let me just ask everybody, this is sort of a standard thing I do. Anybody on the call want a worse life for their children than they have for themselves currently? I don't think anybody's saying yes. Okay, that's always a good thing, except for the guy whose kid crashed the car the other night or something like that. I always think that's a point, because the reality of what we're about in Central Ohio, what it is that our future is going to be based on, is that we have the ability, with nothing that stops us in front of us, of making a better place in our region and our nation and our world. One of the things that has, and I'm so pleased to see that we've gotten to this in a lot of ways now, is that, that term sustainability, whatever it entails on a huge basis, is something we need to bake into everything we do in Central Ohio if we want a better quality of life for all of our residents. And it's important because the key thing is that you can make money. Companies are not dumb about this stuff. They know darn well that we all want our kids to have a better life going forward. So it's been a fundamental tenet of the county's economic development process going forward, that sustainability is going to be a critical piece of how we do business differently. Ted talked about this just a half second ago. It's the idea that we can differentiate ourselves if we believe that our best economic development activities can foster a place where we have a better quality of life for everyone. And that's a big lofty thing, but I know, for example, the Columbus Regional Airport Authority has taken that focus and internalized it as an organization. And you don't maybe see them, but there are electric vehicles running around the airport. There's been a number of things that Smart Columbus started, and we began to launch along. But I will also tell you that it is important for us as a region to hold some people to accountability, and Intel is certainly one of those. What a great thing to go on their website and see that one of the first things that pops up is their sustainability statement and what they're looking to do as time goes on. I will tell you all that this is about change, and sometimes people get real uncomfortable about change. But the key is going to be trying to find the line where you can go down the road and have a huge project like this, but do it in a way that doesn't, just gobble up farmland in Licking County or change the entire county's character for a long period of time. We can put this plant in there in a way that I think will allow us to make sure that the quality of life of the residents that are in that county and around this facility isn't so dramatically impacted that they think they have to move somewhere else. But it's smart thinking and it's smart planning, and that's the work that MORPC does. And these meetings that Megan just talked about, keep your antenna up for those, because they're fascinating. They've been a variety of different discussions, and one of which has been how Intel will, look at sustainability. But you all know that it's part of your business. I use that term baked in. It has to be part of our business psychology and philosophy as we move forward, at least in my opinion. And I think now, as we start to move forward in time, that's becoming just a given. And so we're pleased. I personally am pleased to see that we're starting to think more about that. I come back to this all the time. When you look at Central Ohio, Rickenbacker is an enormous worldwide cargo dedicated facility, the airport that is, and we have over 80 million square feet of space that surrounds Rickenbacker in terms of warehousing. And we don't have a solar panel on any of that. We have to start to change how we think about it. Intel represents just a fabulous opportunity to get us there in the future.
Yeah, and I would add the supply chain as well. These are firms, semiconductor industry suppliers that are all names, making this crazy expensive, complicated equipment, but they come from places, California, Arizona, Oregon. They're coming from contexts that are very not very different, but significantly different from ours from a sustainability perspective. And the natural resource management out in the desert is just entirely different. Water management is entirely different, and a lot of those approaches are we're feeling them in a way we haven't here, with all these companies coming demanding the backing out of ESG goals, who have that sustainability as part of their mission. As Jim said, popping right up on the front page. That's not uncommon, and it's something that we're really hoping to use to drive this sustainability conversation forward. And when I think about sustainability, Jim, kind of your big picture, how do you sum it up? I sort of say, how do you succeed today without compromising success tomorrow? And that can take a lot of different forms. How do you prosper today without compromising prosperity tomorrow? And natural resources are a very obvious manifestation of that. But there are all sorts of ways you can think about sustainability from a social fabric perspective, and making sure that we're serving folks today and tomorrow. So Megan, I'll kick the same question to you from a sustainability perspective. How does that focus really inform your economic development work?
Yeah, absolutely, Ted. Thanks. And you just mentioned this, but that ESG is a real hot topic right now. So much so that we have a dedicated breakout session to that during the Summit on Sustainability. So it's something that everyone from every sector is really interested in, is those ESG goals. Banks are involved, small businesses, large businesses. So it really affects everyone. So thanks for bringing that up. And then thanks, Jim, for the shout out for the Intel focused events. We've got another one coming up in November, focused around mobility. And the one we had in either early October or late September was focused on sustainability. So I'm just kind of really excited that the focus that MORPC has on sustainability. It's so much of a focus that we have a whole program dedicated to that, and a slew of staffers to do that. That program is growing. They actually just hired a new sustainability coordinator, so we're really excited about the growth in sustainability efforts at MORPC. We're focusing on everything from air quality to water quality, energy conservation, efficient land use, urban revitalization, and alternative transportation. So those are all the areas around sustainability that we focus on. We're really looking at it from the 30,000-foot view and for the whole region. We're not just specific to an area in our region. It's the region as a whole. And we really believe that sustainability now allows for a successful future. As Jim mentioned at the top of his comments there, we want to make sure that we're putting into practice these sustainable approach here. So one of the things I just want to highlight is something that MORPC offers. We have the sustainability dashboard. You get to that through Googling MORPC sustainability dashboard. But we have a series of goals on that sustainability dashboard around energy consumption reduction, preserving natural resources, economic opportunity. So under that kind of goal, I'm talking about increasing the number of businesses in Central Ohio with sustainability policies and practices. So supporting our members and our communities around that. Sustainable neighborhoods. Collaboration is another goal in the dashboard that we talk about. Again, I keep going back to this, but the Summit on Sustainability, we've got 19 breakout sessions at the summit covering an array of topics. So this is a real focus for MORPC, and supporting our members and our stakeholders around sustainability is really important to us. And if you haven't had a chance to check out the Sustainable 2050 program that MORPC has kind of under our wing, it's a great resource. It's a great program to get involved with, where we're increasing the number of local governments committed to sustainability, those businesses. So Sustainable 2050, if you haven't checked that out, check it out, because it's got a lot of great information in that program.
Thanks, Megan. And wow, this chat is turning into a heck of a small biz resource guide. This is really impressive. So make sure you're scrolling through that and checking it out. Also, if you have any questions for us, we've all taken a lot of Intel questions this year, and very, very glad to bring perspective on anything that you're interested in, whether it's small biz or more specific to the project. Please just go ahead and drop those in the chat, and Des will sort through them. Megan, I'm going to kind of stay with you for the next question, and I'll set this one up a little bit. So my barber last week, I was talking to him. I go to a barber just in Columbus, in an inner ring area of Columbus, and he's looking at space in Galena right now for his second location. And it really just underscored to me how much small biz can be a regional kind of component, and how small business owners really do think a lot more regionally than I think than many might think on the surface. So, kind of teasing that out, I want to ask about our suburban, exurban, rural communities. This is something that I know MORPC is focused on, that I know Franklin County is focused on, both for the non-Columbus jurisdictions within Franklin County, as well as partnerships outside of Franklin County. So, but maybe starting with Megan, from that kind of small town development, community development, and enabling growth and enabling those communities to tie into this growth and build their own small biz and local economic ecosystems. What are some of the resources you're bringing forward? What are some of the approaches when you think about small town development?
Yeah, Ted, thank you so much for that question. We're really seeing an increased engagement from our suburban and rural communities. They're very interested in being actively engaged, given the growth of our region. I think kind of the main themes and trends that we're seeing from MORPC's perspective with community development in these rural and the suburban and rural communities is really around workforce development. So these communities providing support around workforce development and creating opportunity for empowering community members to succeed in this ever evolving workforce. Affordable housing is a big topic around small town community development. These communities want to make sure that as we're growing as a region, that there is affordable housing available for the folks that are coming here. So that's a real focus. And then access to healthcare is another community development trend. We're seeing these rural communities that they're really needing support and wanting support around bringing adequate healthcare to the communities to help develop and grow their areas. So everything from hospitals to dialysis treatment facilities. We want to make sure that we as a planning agency are supporting all of our members to bring this community development growth approach throughout the whole region.
Thanks, Megan. Jim, how are you thinking about regionally smaller communities and kind of tying together the growth?
Well, I'll just go focus on one area, which is downtown development. A number of the communities that are going to be impacted directly by, say, Intel, and then eventually, the Honda LG project have something that I think it's near and dear to me. Maybe everybody doesn't share it, but man, I love small town downtowns. I just do. And in our community, and I haven't seen or understood why it hasn't happened yet. Anybody that is going to make a film that wants to talk about what, a downtown, what's the perfect downtown look like? I mean, communities like Westerville and Delaware and, a number of others throughout, the central Ohio area, Mount Sterling and, some of these other Mount Vernon and some of these other communities that we have. London, Ohio, which is going to benefit tremendously. Washington Courthouse. What's fun about that is that it used to be, and this is where I started my life, is doing downtown development through the Main Street program in a number of other states. Well, that was a tough damn sell. You had the hardest time in the world to try and go to a small merchant in the downtown and say, what, yeah, Walmart's out there on the edge of town and we got to fight it out with them. We've got to try and figure out what's going on. But, and that's a truism today. And we, have a lot of ways to buy things right now. But I am amazed at how sophisticated, and I'm going to use Westerville as an example. The number of businesses that are located on Westerville's Main Street is just amazing. And I'm going to predict that other communities are going to benefit from, the Intel investment to be able to look at how they can work with their own community centers. And that's what I'll say. This may not be necessarily a downtown, but I am going to predict that success for Licking County, for example, going forward, and the downtown Newark, for example, are all going to benefit from the idea that they are unique places. They only happen in one area of the state and they are different every community you go into. And so, small business development and downtowns, I think, is going to be something that is really going to benefit as we start to move forward with these major projects. And they're just so unique. They're so different. And you go to see different kinds of shops that people have decided was a great idea. And I'm going to go ahead and do this. And those downtown storefronts that all of you knew about, let's just pick a number, 15 years ago, they're full. And they've got businesses in them. And they're service businesses, but they're retail businesses. And those downtowns are special places. The investment that we're going to see in our region is only going to make those places stronger. I know that's a specific focus on one area, but I am really primed for the fact that, a number of our, again, community centers are going to benefit from this whole process.
Totally agree, Jim. Thanks for that. And I grew up in Westerville, and back then it was, it was Schneider's Bakery. That was it. And it was, last one out, turn the lights off. And it's been really, really special to see some of that. Megan, did you have anything else to add on that for the next question?
Yeah. Thanks, Ted. Thanks for watching. I came off mute there. I just wanted to share, building off of what Jim said about downtown revitalization. Part of what we did as an economic development team over the summer was visit each of the county commissioners in the region and give them an update about what we're working on economic development wise and figure out what their priorities are. And in each of those towns, we had the opportunity. In some towns, we got a personal tour of all of the small businesses that are a part of these downtowns. And like Jim said, they're so unique. Some of these shops are so fantastic and original. I mean, there were a number of downtowns that had really quaint and sometimes larger size little toy stores. And I thought to myself, well, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to bring my kids here so that they can experience this as well. So we're just seeing a lot of revitalization around these downtowns and these small businesses. And it was amazing to me to see just how full these downtowns were. I mean, shops were either open or they were under construction to open very soon. So there's a lot of investment going into downtown revitalization of the towns here, and a lot of support from these counties and these cities to help support the small businesses that are going into these communities. So it was really exciting to see that firsthand and to get those tours. So I couldn't agree with you more there, Jim.
Thanks, Megan. All right, so we do have a question in the chat, I think, Des, if you want to set that up.
Yes. So Michael Bowers, I wanted to really hone in on this question because I am really, when it comes to training and when it comes to preparing this workforce to engage and work for Intel and the other direct suppliers, what's Intel doing? And the question, I'll speak directly to it. Can you speak to the plan to create, train the 3,000 people that will be working for Intel? What's being done and what type of investment is Intel doing to ensure that there is a workforce that's prepared to work for them?
Yeah, thanks, Des. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat that speaks to this directly. So after the announcement in January of this year, the big one, the first announcement that Intel made was $50 million directly into Ohio higher education. And that was matched actually by another $100 million nationally through the National Science Foundation as well. The $50 million fenced for Ohio. And, the company knows that when you're starting an industry like semiconductors from scratch, there's a massive workforce need. We're going to have not only Intel, but all of the suppliers coming in. And just to step back on what this facility is for Intel, about 60 to 70% of the jobs there, right around 2/3 of the jobs, are 2-year certificate or 2-year degree equivalent jobs. Those are semiconductor manufacturing operators, floor operators. Those are the folks that are going to be kind of working within all of the machines that are out on the floor, making sure that as those chips are going from one machine to the other, keeping an eye on maintenance, just all the stuff you would expect. And those are great roles, well-paid roles, again, on those 2-year certificate paths. If you look at the fact sheet that I dropped in the chat a couple minutes ago, Intel announced the first tranche of funding out of that 50 million. It's 17.7 million. They announced it at the same time as the groundbreaking. There are 8 leading projects that it was an RFP process. There were 8 projects that were selected for that 17.7 million. However, those 8 included networks of higher education institutions to where we're actually hitting over 80 higher education institutions in Ohio through just this first part of the investment. Kelly, if you actually wanted to jump in, you're more than welcome to on this one. But yeah, it's really an incredible investment that they're making. We're seeing alignment across the state, 4-year, 2-year community colleges. It's a really special moment for this. And again, knowing that under that roof, it's not just the PhD electrical engineers. A lot of these look and feel like traditional manufacturing jobs. They're wearing bunny suits. It looks high tech. It's intense stuff, but these at their base are really, I think of them as just fundamentally good American manufacturing floor jobs. Kelly, did you want to jump in on that?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and thank you, Ted, and appreciate that. We're really trying to, I think, identify and build, even in the career tech centers and the Ohio Technical Centers for adult education, as well as in that K through 12 space. So I think those relationships and that career awareness about what's coming in the next few years and what's coming, 10 to 15 years out. I think Christine Boucher and others from the CTE community are on this call, and I know they're very excited about joining in those conversations as well.
Thanks. And I'll mention one last thing. I know we're coming up on time, but I did want to get one more link in the chat. And seriously, folks, check out this chat if you haven't. It's phenomenal. So if you live in Licking County, I'm going to really encourage you to get involved in this process. And if you're not, I'm going to encourage you, if you're interested in some of the concepts we've been talking about today, to keep tabs on it. It's called Framework Licking County. So once Intel made this announcement, all of the little local governments around the site and in Western Licking County, they all sort of realized that a lot of their town plans were old. Their comprehensive plan for how their town's going to be laid out and how the land is going to be used maybe was 20 years old. And maybe their thoroughfare plan for their roads was also 20 years old. So all of a sudden you have a bunch of local governments all updating these plans at once, all deciding their future at once. It's a really, really special moment, but there was a need to kind of tie them together, bring forward a Licking County concept, and make sure that when you go across jurisdictional lines, it makes sense and it's enabling, corridors, sites, and people and quality of life. So check out that Framework Licking County site. They're about to go public for public input. It's going to be taking place over about the next year. Definitely keep tabs on that. It's a really, really special project. It's a public-private partnership funded in large part by many of the businesses out in Licking County. And foundations. So check that one out. Really, really cool, novel approach they're taking. Des, I think we're just about up at time, but I'll defer to you for running this.
Yes, we are. And hey, thank you so much. And I was going to ask you a question, but I won't do that now. But I just really wanted to harp, because I stated earlier that we are in this together. This is a huge ordeal. And I keep saying that it's a tsunami of intel is coming. And we want to ensure that our business community is prepared, and our entrepreneurs that are going through their journey and small businesses are not left behind, and that they have a stake in the game and a seat at the table, and an opportunity to partner not with just Intel, but within their own respective enterprises, as well as the direct suppliers that will be working with Intel. But with that said, I'll conclude and make some closing remarks. But thank you so much. This was an amazing discussion and very much appreciated. But thank you to our moderator and panelists for their knowledge and participation in this morning's Government Spotlight program. If you enjoyed today's program and would like to revisit the conversation at a later date, be sure to keep an eye out on your email. You should receive a link to the recording within the next 24 hours, I believe, hope. On behalf of the Columbus Chamber, we want to thank you for supporting our Government Spotlight series. We look forward to providing relevant and insightful programming for you in the future. Please be sure to visit Columbus's Chambers' website at columbus.org/events for more events like this one. We hope to see you all again soon, and thank you again so much for this discussion. It was awesome. But if anyone has any questions after the fact, please feel free to email them to me, and I will reach out to our respective panelists right after that. So again, thank you, everyone. Everyone have a great rest of the day and a wonderful and safe rest of the weekend. All right. Thank you, everybody.